standard. My name is Joel Sked, and I'm delighted to be joined on this occasion by Tom Irving. And when that happens, it usually means Hearts have signed a player. In this instance, it's Sabah Kerjota, the Albanian winger from US Sam Benedetesi. And I need to maybe do the hand gesture of that. Benedetesi in the Italian lower leagues. Hopefully, I'm not offended the Italian listeners. Tom, how are you?
I'm not too bad. Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Good. I am all good.
I'm just glad that you were the one to say the names for the first time of the club and the player. Has it been confirmed that it's Kerjota? Is it Kerjota?
No, I'm not sure. Not sure. I'll do some asking on that if we've not found out by the time this is out. So I will do. I've just said it as I saw it. So I am happy to be corrected on that. Yeah. Before we get into Kerjota, of course, if it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. And all information on that is in the description below. Tom, I think it's only right to start at the level he is coming from. That was probably the aspect of the transfer, or when he first emerged as a target, which raised eyebrows initially and probably still does. He was playing in the 4th tier last season. Keith asked for some comments on social media because we're not doing this live. Keith from Twitter. How big is a step up from Serie D to Scottish top flight? He asked. Talk to me about the level, Tom, and your initial feelings when you saw where he was coming from.
Yeah, so it's a different league structure to what we've got over here. Well, yeah, what we've got over here. So Serie D's got 9 different groups separated across 9 different groups, and there's I think 18 or 20 teams in each. So you've got my maths, I think 170 odd teams in Serie D. So I think the first thing to note is that there's going to be a massive gap between the best and the worst. It's not like there's 18 teams that are all quite similar. There's probably a handful in each group that are high quality, and then the bottom few are probably quite poor quality, and a lot of kind of mid-ground ones. So lots of players, lots of. When I initially filtered on Y-Scout, there was like 3,000 players or something. I was like, that can't be right, and then I checked, and I was actually right. Wow. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it, when you think about the numbers? But so that's probably the first thing to note. But Kerjota's club, they finished top quite easily. Well, from the looks of things, I think they were 10 points clear, much better goal difference than everyone else in the league as well. So it seemed like he was playing for the best team and being a kind of major part of the best team. Now, looking at the comparison to Scottish football, as always, it's quite hard to compare Scottish football because it's so kind of unique. Standard wise, it's looking like probably this is just his group, so his 18 teams compared to the Scottish Championship. So you see most of them are kind of at the bottom of the Championship, or kind of League One standard. We've cut off that part because it would be far too long. But I would say in general, League One / Championship for his group. So it is going to be a step up. And the style of football is going to be a bit different. But when watching it, there was quite a few really technically good players. Mm-hmm. There was also quite a few not as good players. There was looking at like kind of where players have come from to play that league. There's players that just stick to that kind of level, or maybe the league above, and drop down and kind of stick around there and are veterans at that level. There's quite a lot of players who came through bigger academies, like your Milans and stuff, and then they'll drop out after the youth academy and stuff and drop down to this level, and then there's a few kind of older players who are just dropping down gradually as they get a little bit older as well. So it's a good mix of players, a lot of quite good football, especially his team. Sabah's team tried. But then, watching against the lesser teams, it was much easier. And when looking at actually his home stadium, I think his average attendance is about 6,000. So it's quite a noisy fans as well.
Yeah, they seem like not a big club, but a decent sized club a big club in relation to where they were playing. And it seemed like they have quite a following, but like kind of both social media fan base and the media attention around them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like they're definitely, they were expecting to get promoted from what it looks like anyway, and they were quite happy with that. There was a few of the games I looked at, and they were playing away from home, and the pitches were very much kind of League One stadiums.
Yeah.
But his stadium, you could look at it and think it was Serie B by like the size of the stadium and the amount of fans there. Obviously not one of the bigger Serie B teams, but he's not going to be, I don't think, too worried to go away to your likes of maybe Libya and stuff like that. It's not going to be a massive step up for him when it comes to that attendance and noise inside the stadiums. Anyway, maybe some of the bigger ones like Celtic and Rangers and away at Hibs is going to be potentially a bit intimidating, but in general, I don't think he's going to be struggling with that side of the game anyway.
Yeah, I was speaking to, just in terms of his departure, I was speaking to someone in Italy about him, and they talked about how much the fans were frustrated, upset when the news broke at the end of July that he was going to be heading to Hearts. The money that Hearts offered them, and the bid was between 100 and 150,000 euros. That was going to help with their step up to Serie C and help with their budget. So like selling them for a six-figure sum will really help with their budget as well. So it seemed like a really good move from their side, from the player side as well. So that'll be one of the interesting things, is how he handles that step up. Matty, before we get into the nitty-gritty, Matty JK asked about how long it will take Kerjota to get up to speed, given he's not had a pre-season. I do think it'll be, I think the fact that no pre-season and the step up, there will be a bedding in period, because he last played at the start of May, so you'll need to get back into the training side of things. I assume, like most players, he'll have been doing stuff on the side, like Shanklin was before he signed his contract. But the way McInnes was speaking about on Saturday, that he wants to get the guys involved in the League Cup. So I would imagine he would be no more, certainly to begin with, like as potentially an impact player off the bench. But again, it really depends on where his levels are when he comes back or when he comes into the club and they get an idea of where he's at.
Yeah, and now, this might sound obvious to people who played kind of football and stuff, but there's a big difference between match fitness and fitness. Like, I have no doubt that he's going to jump in and do whatever fitness tests that Hearts do nowadays, and he'll be fine on day one. But then getting involved in sessions and just that match sharpness and just training sharpness, that's what's going to take time. We hope anyway. I'm assuming that this hasn't been a very new thing to him. I'm assuming there's probably been a bit of contact in the last few weeks or maybe months. So yeah. I'm fully expecting, if we've done our homework, he'll be a professional and he'll be ready for this fitness wise. But yeah, it's that match sharpness at a different level, different country, different style of play. That's what's lacking. So it'd be good to get him involved in these games against lower league Scottish teams, give him a taste of Scottish football, but just on a dialed down and more similar to the level that he's used to. Anyway.
Now we'll move on to, before talking about the eye test and what you saw from watching him, I'll bring in the data, and once more, or data, depends on how you pronounce it, your preference. Once more, we need to reiterate, for the one time only on this podcast or YouTube show, the green equals good. That's the only time I'll say that in relation to this. Green equals good. And there's a lot of green that we can see that Kerjota has in comparison to wingers that played within his group, I think it was Group E or Group F on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side in comparison to all 222 Serie D wingers, which was, as I said, on the right-hand side. So Tom, talk to me about the data and the metrics or anything that fans should be, because there's obviously there's a lot to take in there. What should fans be focused on or excited about? What are the areas that really stand out for you?
Yeah, so I would say initially just that is a massive sample size on the right hand side, 220 people. I've created a ranking system. I don't know if I've talked about this before on this, but it's basically for different positions, different roles in teams, and so basically a mini Jamestown analysis kind of. Nowhere near as complicated, but he stood out. I think it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like 14th or something out of 220, and everyone above him was kind of a what's the word I was saying?
Veteran.
Veteran, that's the word. It's such an easy word as well. It was a veteran at the level, or it dropped down from a higher level, and they were a veteran at a higher level, and their first year in the lower level and stuff. So he was kind of the first young player out of those 220 wingers that were that ranked very, very highly. So it's not easy to do that. It's a lot of players. So that's the first thing I noticed. Second thing, so someone asked on the questions a minute ago about, I don't know if they were talking about Sabah or about Kabore. But it's asking what kind of player is he going to be, attacker or more of a winger? Probably more about Kabore. But looking at the data here, I like how all round he is. He's not just a winger that gets balls into the box and gets assists. He's not just an attacker who's selfish and scores all the goals. He's got really good data for both the kind of chance creation metrics and the goal scoring metrics. He's one of the best in the league for goals scored, and it's quite close to his XG, which is brilliant. But then he's also one of the best in the league for assists and expected assists. So not only those two can kind of, if you've got a really good centre forward and you just need to get the ball somewhere near to him, it might not be high XA, but if you score, you get the assist kind of thing. But it looks like, he's doing enough to create good chances for his teammates, which is good. And then
can I just jump in on one of them? Just to something that really stood out for me was his through passes per 90 minutes. And this is the reason it stood out is because having read your analysis on both Kerjota and Kabore, is that Kabore, and we'll obviously do a video, be able to watch a video on Kabore when once he's signed, or if he is already signed, that Kabore is, you view him as someone who is really good at running through the middle and making really good runs and looking to get onto through balls. So the fact that Kerjota, as well as being able to go down the line and put crosses in, he can actually come inside on his stronger foot and thread those passes, which again is something that's exciting when you're adding these two guys with pace to the lineup. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like that's quite common in a lot of our signings, and a lot of the players we've kind of been linked at is players that get in behind and players that make passes in behind as well. We've got a couple already. Kabangu and Wilson, I think, are really good at making those runs already. Even the likes of Vargas, depending on where his position in the team sits when he's back training with us after his international break. So we've got the players, I think, that could really benefit from those through balls, and then adding Kabore as well. And I think that kind of speaks about the style of player he is, which we'll get into in a minute. He doesn't always just go down the line and try and whip a ball in the box, which he does do, but it's not just get down the line, ball in the box, old school winger. He does like to cut in and play those through passes instead of just being a one-trick pony, which is quite useful.
You mentioned the style, so we'll kind of move on to talk about the eye test and how the data marries up with the eye test. I can if you need me to bring that back up at any point, just let me know, Tom. But the eye test, you sent me some, you've obviously watched them, and you sent me some clips. I replied immediately with one of them saying, my word here looks really exciting. I don't know if there was an expletive in there at one point, I'm not sure, but it was his pace and acceleration that's really stood out for me. Is that fair? Is that something that stood out for you watching them? Or if not, is it something that he would definitely add to the team?
Yeah, I think that, again, that's something that all of our signings have, or our potential signings, the players that we're looking at, seem to be quick, fit, and pretty intense. They all seem to, if we look to play a high press or something, I don't see any of our signings or potential signings not fitting into that kind of high pressing team. So not just on the ball, but off the ball as well. The thing you mentioned there, it was, it was, I think, the first minute of the game. The team kind of pressed high. He helped force a turnover, got the ball, drove down the wing, just very direct, burst past a player or two, and played a nice ball into the box. Not a cross, it was a look up and play a kind of inch perfect pass into the striker's feet. I think about the 6-yard box. And yeah, that was the first minute of the game that I had, the first game I watched of him. And I was like, okay, this is good. I like this guy. And yeah, definitely in possession, he's very dangerous, I would say. He's like all wingers. I think there's not one winger in the world who's not a little bit hot and cold. But I think the best wingers are hot and cold because they continuously try, even though it might not come off for them, it might not fully work for them, they'll still try. They've got that confidence and that arrogance to continue and keep trying. Which,
there we go.
So I guess
I wasn't sure if I was able to do it, so I'll play it through once, because they automatically just add to the video, and I'll play it again. I'll pull it back to the start. So it turns, well, we can't put this in the article, and this might be against YouTube rules, but we've done it anyway. So this is Kerjota, number 7 there, wins the ball, and he's away.
Yeah, and then it's not much skill, just drop of the shoulder, burst past them. And
that's something that I think I'll take that off. Remove. That's something that I think's really important to Derek McInnes. Is you go back to his time at Aberdeen, you go back to his time at Kilmarnock, is that he likes to play wingers on their opposite side, but he likes those wingers to be able to go both ways. You look at Danny Armstrong, you look at Matty Kennedy, you look at Fraser Murray last season, who was one of Kelly's best players. As they were played on the opposite side. You go back to his Aberdeen side, and you had Johnny Hayes and Niall McGinn, both cut in and zip in really good balls, come in and combine with the midfielders, put those balls in that I think probably really good for strikers like Shanklin in there, or they're able to drop the shoulder and get down the line and beat a man as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I saw. Like, it wasn't, like I mentioned earlier, it was very much, who knows? I don't think he knows coming into going at a guy which way he's going to go, but then he decides in the moment. Keeps him guessing, I guess. And yeah, a lot of time goes down, and it's really hard for defenders to defend against when they're just not a kind of one-trick pony, unless you're Aaron Robin. Not said that word in ages. And you're just so good at that kind of one trick that you've got. Having multiple tricks is going to be beneficial. But yeah, like I said, he's not really like ridiculously skillful. I think he's got good touch, and technically he is strong, but he's not one who's going to do loads of Maradona turns and step overs and stuff like that. He's just like nice little deft touches, drops of the shoulder, and just burst past players. In the article I thought that clip that we just watched, if it's still not been deleted, was very Suso-esque, and I think I loved Suso. I was a big fan of him. Just head down, beat the player, goes at him. I really like that in a winger. So hopefully we see more of that this season. So a lot of times when he did come in, cut inside as well, he was either looking for kind of an overlap or someone on the outside, which I'm going to butcher the name again. Borch Grevink has from when I watched him, he liked to do as well. He liked to get up and support the winger and get balls in the box. So that cutting in is can be kind of selfish from Kerjota as well, to kind of bring other people in the game and not be, the guy that gets down the wing, creates a chance and gets an assist. I think he'll bring other people into the game. And I did see quite a few of nice little through balls and little 1-2s and stuff in the middle as well to create chances. It wasn't just a purely pace, whip the ball in the box, which I think our wingers of late maybe have been a bit inclined to do. So yeah, I think technically we're going to be quite impressed by him. The big question, I guess, on that aspect is the standard. If that left back that we were just watching there, or whatever position it was, if that was an SPL left back, Scottish Premiership, people get annoyed at that. If it was a Scottish Premiership left back, would he have got past them so easily? That's what's yet to see. But yeah, I guess we'll find out in a few weeks. I don't think the physical standard looked too much lower than what we're used to in Scotland, but yeah, I guess we'll see sometime soon, hopefully. Mark
asked if he basically just asked hit the byline, and I'm guessing he might be referring to Kerjota or Kibori, but if it's Kerjota, then the question's answered in that clip, because he gets down to the byline and cuts it back. So there's that. So just to kind of conclude, and you talked about the step up, and that's going to be the big question. Is a lot of them, especially shopping in these different markets and bringing players in from different footballing cultures. I think it's quite a. I was going to say something there, but it's expletive if we get done for that on YouTube. But it's quite a cringy phrase, that. But how, in general, how are you feeling about this signing?
I think that's probably the easy way out here. I think we've got to trust JTA at this stage. I think he looks good from what I've seen. The data backs it up. He looks exciting and one that looks like he should be getting into the first team quite quickly when he's up to speed. And I guess he's got that bit of grace period where he does need to kind of catch up with everyone else. So if we don't see him instantly, or he's not amazing instantly, then we've kind of thrown him in at the deep end, I guess, so to speak. But yeah, I do think he looks good. And it's very much this phrase gets thrown about all the time now, a JTA signing. I think this is the one where we're kind of going all in on it. Was it USG signed a boy from like the fourth tier in Germany or something who was playing part-time, and now he's worth like tens of millions. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but this is our, coming from absolutely nowhere. And who knows, if he has a good season with us, he could be in the Albanian national team. He could be worth a lot. If he has a bad season, then we're going to be the lovely fan base that is Hearts fans are going to be a bit angry about signings like this. So, but quite low cost, which is good.
Yeah, that's it, and that's something that's been discussed on. And one of the questions got asked was around: isn't it more risk? Isn't it there's less risk to be paying, just spending 1 million on 3 signings? And that's not. Again, I'll just point to Union Saint-Gilloise. The way they've gone about it is when they first started under when Bloom went in, was a lot of free low cost signings, and then more than perhaps needed, but it's kind of spreads the risk, and you're hoping to 3 or 4 do really well, and then you sell them on, and then you invest that money back in the first team, and then you're able to spend more at each summer, and that's the plan going forward. What was I going to finish up and say on Kerjota? Just that you were talking about. Oh yeah, the last thing I was going to say was it would have been, I think ideally, Hearts would have Kerjota and Chesnikov, because I think Chesnikov is more advanced, or a more advanced stage at the moment, where he is playing in the Kazakh top flight. He's a Kazakh international, one of the best players in the Kazakh top flight. And fingers crossed somehow a deal can get done before the end of the transfer window, and then that probably gives Kerjota a bit more grace period to just settle in and get up to speed with everything. But who knows? It might just be a case he comes in and is just thrown in at the deep end, and he's able to swim really well and just hits the ground running and provides Hearts with, and Derek McInnes with that pace and width that been kind of crying out for better quality in the final third.
Yeah, I would agree. And I out of the three kind of out and out wingers we've signed so far, Alexandros, Sabah, I'm using the first names because they're easier, and Chesney, we'll call him. Out of those three, I do see Chesney as being the best, and I think he'll walk into the team straight away and become our best winger. Like the second he'll train for one game and he'll be the best one. But that's probably why it's taken so long. You know, that his team, Tobol, they know what they've got on their hands.
Yeah.
And he's very valuable to them, and it's in the middle of the season, so it's always going to be hard to make that signing. And if they're wanting 600-700 grand for him, it's, you know, cost benefit analysis on that. Like, is it going to be worth it? Hopefully we don't need him, but yeah, it would be great to have him.
Unfortunately, they keep winning and they stay in the title challenge. And again, it's one of those where I just look at them. I don't think they're in a particular. It's not like we need to sell him and make a few hundred grand because we really need that few hundred grand. I don't think that's the case. So there's every chance Hearts goes like, all right, we'll give you X amount, and they go, actually, we could do a Y amount. Hearts go, okay, we'll give you Y amount, and they would just turn around and go, you know, if you're going to give us Y amount, give us Z amount. That's how important it is. So it's not a straightforward one, but hopefully Kerjota can hit the ground running and provide Hearts with a bit of spark, pace and quality in the final third. Tom, thank you very much for your insight and lowdown on Hearts' new Albanian winger. We will be back at some point, whether it's another sign-in, whether it is a post-match reaction, a preview, or there is a couple of things. Tom, you might be working on something around the kind of general makeup of the signings and what they're adding as a whole to the squad. And there was someone who asked, sorry, I'm just looking at my mentions. I didn't put it into my notes. That basically asked if they could get Tom to talk about the I can't see it, but basically we're asking you if to give oh yeah, there we go. Scott Bryce asked, enjoy listening to these reports. It'd be good to get Tom's view on the potential squad status of signings, i.e. first team regular, squad player backup, one for the future. That's something that we'll probably go over at some point later on in the summer. I think that's quite a good topic to go on. But until the next time, be sure to subscribe to YouTube channel if you haven't done so. Check out heartstandard.co.uk. Tom's article is linked in the description. Read that. That will give you kind of what we've talked about in more depth as well. And then until the next time, thank you very much and goodbye.